two-fisted 50s were enriched by a crazy combination of wild-eyed personality and eye-popping athletic prowess.
The league had a lot of characters in those days. They were characters, but they were great football players.
The portrait gallery of greats established in the 1950s includes some of the most exciting athletes who ever played the game. Of the 133 men enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, 55 spent all or part of their playing careers in the 1950s. These players cast giant shadows upon the landscape of pro football, and today these shadows loom even larger in the memories and imaginations of those who love the game. The incomparable individual brilliance and unique team chemistry that mark this era have transcended their specific time and place to make the fabulous 50s an unforgettable part of the magic and myth of pro football.
Sports fans, now you can hear both sides of the story.
Hard season, but he was one of the players who helped define the 50s as a decade of thrills. This thoroughbred ball carrier broke into the NFL, it's a great story, courtesy of a jockey at Miami's Hialeah racetrack who told Bears head coach George Halas about Willie's exploits at Florida A&M. So Papa Bear scouted, then signed Willie. For the next 6 seasons, Willie the Wisp carved his niche as one of the most exciting and elusive runners of all time.
In 1957, George Halas took a tip from a jockey at Hialeah Racetrack in Miami and placed a bet not on a horse, but on a player named Willie Gallimore. Gallimore, number 28, came to the Bears as a late-round draft choice from tiny Florida A&M and proved to be one of the last great steals before scouting became sophisticated. Elusive and swift, Willie was the Ferrari of running backs, possessing a passing gear other players only dream about. A rival defensive lineman once said, he was not hard to bring down once you got your hands on him, but getting your hands on Willie was unbelievably difficult.
Willie was nicknamed Willie the Wisp. And in reality, that was the way he ran. All of a sudden, you'd see him break out into the open, and you don't know where he came from. Willie was unbelievably quick going downfield. He wasn't sideways or this way. He just zoomed down the field and seemed to be so fast nobody could catch it.
You ever try go hunting and a rabbit's in an open field and you try to shoot a rabbit, or you ever try tackling a guy like that? He had speed like you. He, one motion, the same speed, be able to cut. The only difference between him and McElhenney, Willie was faster. To me, it seemed like he did the 109.2 going like this. Fantastic.
Willie Gallimore puts the Bears on their way to another score. Willie Gallimore reverses his field. Follows the ball, gets it back, shakes off tackler after tackler on a spectacular touchdown jump.
Willie Gallimore could turn the corner faster than most fellas could run forward. I've seen him do that.
Gallimore never gained 1,000 yards in a season, but statistics were not the measure of this man. He painted pictures in the open field. Each run was a Rembrandt, and as a collection, they became a gallery that hung in the memory.
It seemed like everybody forgot it. And he's made some runs that I've never seen him back do yet. I have never seen anyone, and I don't believe you have in any of your film, seen anyone catch him from behind or from an angle. He was only 9'6" feet, but he seemed like he run as fast as he had to.
Gallimore was as gifted a passer pass catcher as he was a runner. And in today's game, he probably would have been turned into a wide receiver.
He could get downfield so fast on the defensive halfback, the safety, the free safety, that the free safety was not free anymore. This was the greatness of two great halfbacks in professional football, half to fast. We were playing a game in 1963, I guess it was, and the game was very close, and I hit Willie with a pass about in the middle of the field, man, and he just caught the ball and zoomed through everybody. I mean, it was just like, it was unbelievable. I mean, he was so quick.
He had 2 knee operations year before the 63 season. I think he broke something like 6 tackles. You know, just having a knee operation just bad enough, but he had 2 of them in 1 year. I mean, he was amazing. I always thought he was one of the best runners, and I never could understand why he didn't get more recognition as a runner.
Willie Gallimore, Willie the Wisp, gone but not forgotten.
Looking for a gift for that special outdoorsman on your list?
Pro football is a team sport, and winning teams comprise unique blends of colorful characters with just the right chemistry. Take the 1958 Baltimore Colts, for example. The heart of this team was its defensive line, a crazy quilt quartet who joined together to help propel the once ragtag Colts to a world championship.
In the late 1950s, the Baltimore Colts won back-to-back world championships. While the glamour of winning went to the big-name stars of the offense, the true personality of the Colts was shaped by the defense, and in particular, by 4 extraordinary men who played in the defensive line. At right tackle was 6 foot 6 inch, 290-pound Eugene Lipscomb, the Big Daddy of the Baltimore Colts. In the 1950s, the main job of the defensive tackle was to jam up the middle. But Big Daddy revolutionized his position when he invented what is now called pursuit. Whenever the play was directed away from him, which was often, Big Daddy pulled out of the line in pursuit of the ball carrier and made more tackles than any lineman on the team.
Big Daddy was big. He was the first big black man in the National Football League. He came here at 56 with me. But his greatest asset was his fact that he could read the defense and then pursue the ball carrier and usually get to him before the ball carrier turned the corner. Gene's forte was his great lateral movement.
When asked to explain his revolutionary technique, Big Daddy said simply, "I take the shortest route to the ball carrier and arrive in ill humor."
And he would try to intimidate you. He would try to pull the nose thing, you know, and squeeze your nose. You know, not in a dirty thing, kind of like like he was playing with you, like a cat would play with a mouse. Reach under your face mask and, you know, squeeze your nose and say, I'm gonna get you next time. Would really make you mad as hell.
While Big Daddy was cast as the team bully, number 70, Art Donovan, played the team buffoon.
Maybe he looked like a big marshmallow for a Santa Claus in a football uniform for the player across the line of scrimmage, but a lot of them playing Arthur Donovan got religion. He was especially adept at splitting the double team. He could take double team blocking and separate it like you would 10 pins because of this immense strength that he had in his shoulders.
Donovan was a 4-time All-Pro defensive tackle, and he was destined to be the first Baltimore Colt to enter the Hall of Fame. Belying
the fact that he was stout and portly and didn't look like he had much speed, had all the quickness that you would want for 4 or 5 yards. Exerted tremendous pressure on the quarterback, handled the running plays straight at him with the same kind of adeptness. Just a total football player, all you would want in the defensive lineman.
At right end was Don Joyce, a ferocious pass rusher and a huge man with a huge appetite that was well publicized and well documented.
Joyce is about 6'3",
6'3", about 270 pounds. And they talk about, insanity is a very, very thin line. Well, I think Joyce, some of the time, watch him in the movies, was on the left side of the line. So I said, well, I think Joyce can eat more chicken than anybody else on the team. And the guy said, no, he can't. For $100, Marchetti can. So I said, all right. So only have 2 more guys bet. So we had $300 bet, and we had this chicken eating contest up in Western Maryland College. So the 8 of us, the 6 guys bet and the 2 guys eating, the participants, we get in there, and here comes the waiters out with a typical Southern Maryland Sunday afternoon meal. Chicken, mashed potatoes, peas, and all the trimmings. So anyhow, Gino, he just starts eating the chicken. Well, Joyce, he's eating the chicken, the mashed potatoes, and the peas. We said, for Christ's sakes, don't worry about the mashed potatoes and peas, just eat the chicken. So anyhow, Gino eats 23 pieces of chicken. He stops. 23, 25. Well, Joyce is 24. He said, 2 more, champ, and we win. We called him champ because in the off-season he was a wrestler. He and Big Daddy had a tag team match. They were tag teams. So anyhow, he says, hell, I'm still hungry. And he eats 36 pieces of chicken. So finally he says, whoa, he says, I can't eat anymore. He says, I gotta wash this down. And in front of him we had a big pitcher of iced tea. So there you are, champ, eat it all. He drink it all. We don't care if he blows up now because we won the bet. With that, he reached into his pocket and pulled out 4 pieces of saffron and dropped it in the iced tea. He was watching his calories.
Left hand Gino Marchetti, number 89, liked quarterbacks more than chicken. And on Sunday afternoons, he dined in style. Gino the Giant was a defensive end in the classic sense. He didn't just play the position, he was the position. You couldn't run at him, by him, or around him. And if you ran away from him, he had the speed to track you down. Marchetti, in his own words, played mad all the time, and his temper was a permanent part of his weaponry.
Marchetti was the backbone of that defense. To watch him pace that locker room before a game, he was like a caged lion. Yeah, I didn't really stop thinking about that until right at this moment you talk about that, but I've been around a lot of locker rooms since then. I don't see, that all the time. That intensity is not something you just find every day. It's one of the reasons why he was a great one.
Gino Marchetti was the backbone of a defense that had many heroes and more than its share of clowns, who together shared many moments of low comedy and high drama.
We enjoyed the game. Whoever thought that of all the kids that played football down through the years in all the grammar schools and high schools and colleges, that you would be picked or be lucky enough to play professional football. And we used to look back on that and say, we're lucky we're here. This is something great happening to us that it doesn't happen to too many guys. Period. That's the way we all looked at it.
Where to find the mountain man?
Deserved a world championship so bad, it didn't come true.
It was a good night for Full 8, scoring 12 of his 18 in the 4th. Orlando handed the Bucks their...
Clients weren't afraid to put their bodies on the line. But what made them unique was their heart and soul, and that was quarterback Bobby Lane. This Lone Star State legend combined on-field heroics with off-the-field hijinks, leading the Lions to party 6 nights a week, then leading them to victory on Sunday.
Detroit Lions of the 50s liked football, but loved wine, women, and song.
Come on, baby, yes, this is me. This is something I just can't miss. Come on, baby.
This riotous bunch of revelers became more important to the Motor City than General Motors. They were a team that savored a great victory almost as much as a great prank.
They would screw up a film like we'd be seeing the film of the Browns. Halfway in it, there would be a porno film. Then all of a sudden, a lot of guys, straight shooters would get up and go. The other guys would kind of watch for a while. You know, it was something like that. You never knew what these guys were going to do.
What they did most of all was win 4 Western Conference titles and 2 NFL championships. At times, the team stumbled and fell, but they never stayed down for long because losing meant facing the wrath of their hot-tempered head coach, Buddy Parker.
He would go into kind of a rage, and he would do some funny things. First thing he'd do is cut his towel and cut his shoelaces up and throw his watch against the wall.
I know one thing, Harley Sewell and I both jumped inside of the John, and he had to stand on Tootsie holding the door because he was going down the aisles firing this fella and firing another fella. And hell, we were hiding because if you saw us, he didn't care who you were, he'd fire you.
On the field, the Lions were led by quarterback Bobby Lane, number 22, whose taste for the high life should have left him breathless and rendered his body too flabby to even climb stairs. Instead, he was the most sharp-eyed and fiercest competitor in pro football.
Bobby wasn't the best passer. He was not the best faker, but he just hated to lose. And that's all there was to it. He was just, I don't care if you're playing poker, dominoes, golf, whatever. He just doesn't like to lose. He wants to win at whatever he does. He instilled that into everybody else that no matter what, we always felt no matter how far we got behind, that we could win.
Lane rode the Lions hard to victory. He made no allowances for either mental mistakes or missed assignments.
Bobby said to him, if your man comes in, I mean, he would chew your off. But the one time I hit him as he got rid of the ball, he said, you fat son of a, next time you do it, I'll get you. And I was getting ready to hit him again, and he hit me in the face mask with the football. And you bet your life, he put the fear of God in me.
In this city of working men, the workmen-like Lions achieved victories in less than the flamboyant manner, and often it was not daylight heroics, but nighttime escapades that made Monday's headlines.
We were better known for our off-the-field antics than on the field.
A Lion teammate said, 1 million people claim they've had a drink with Bobby, and none of them are lying. Thus, every year, Buddy Parker assigned Lane a rookie bodyguard.
He made me his official chauffeur. And I was drunk every night with Bobby, you know. So I don't know how I made the ball club, and I never drank before in my life, nor have I since then. But during that first year, I had to give it all up and become this chauffeur for Bobby. He reeked of alcohol. I said, Bobby, you must have had a hell of a night last night. He says, I may have had a few at halftime. And, you know, I wouldn't doubt him. This is the way the guy was. For 10 days out there before that ball game, I don't think Bobby Lane got too many sober breaths. And we're in practice, and he's throwing the ball, and nobody's catching it. He's throwing behind him, in front of him, and everywhere else. And I'm wondering how we're going to play in this ball game. I'm thinking, well, we might get the hell beat out of us. And through the ball game, he throws four touchdown passes. So I guess he's whole football career that he stayed drunk all week and throw touchdown passes on Sunday.
Although the Lions often saw victory through bleary eyes, history clearly sees them as one of pro football's most colorful teams.
Bobby Lane's lifestyle reminds us that life in the NFL during the 1950s was a lot different than it is today. Even the highlight films were different. The following excerpt from the 1952 Packers highlight will give you an idea of what an old football movie looked and sounded like.
The capacity crowd turns out for what turned out to be the world champion Detroit Lions' biggest display of offensive power in 1952. The Lions are on the loose with Jug Gerard carrying the Green Bay 28. The Packers receive a mean jolt as their former teammate Jug Gerard snares Lane's pass in the end zone, and it's a 7-0 game. The big the Cats go for yardage in big bites and get it as Lane's pass is laid on the line. Foyce box, shags it, is run out of bounds and almost out of the stadium. Bunchy Horsemeyer makes like a real Packer smacker as he blasts over, and it's 14-0 Detroit on top of Green Bay. In the second quarter, after a Packer score, another Lane Lovely is good for 6 more points as Bill Swiacki makes the grab in the end zone. So it's 21-7 now, Lions leading. Later in the period, the Lions leave their cage again, and with Gerard porting that pigskin, the Packers moan as they see Jug chug 37 yards to the Green Bay 25. Horsemeyer paints the final strokes to the picture that sees Detroit post 28 points on the board as the half ends. A perked up Packer 11 takes the field in the second half, but that's all they take as a larcenous line in the form of Bob Smith pilfers a Packer pitch, and away he goes with a burglarized bell ringer to give Detroit a 35-10 advantage. Again in the third quarter, Jug Gerard returns to haunt his old mates as he gets under a long lane aerial, grabs it, and over he goes to boost the Lions into a 42-10 lead. In the final period, the Packers are forced to punt. Babe Burley gets it away. Jack Christensen picks it up on his 33, dances away from half dozen Packers, sees a clear field in front of him, and is off on a 63-yard counting cannon. This caps off the scoring as the Lions show the type of offense the champions are made of by pummeling the Packers 52-17.
My business proved the experts wrong and provided a glimpse of the future when they played their first ever NFL contest.
For 4 years, it was part football, part carnival, and at times part travelogue. But in the end, the ill-fated All-American Conference was better at staging circuses than competitive football games. The Cleveland Browns were the jewel that would be plucked from the wreckage by the rival NFL. But though the Browns completely dominated their conference year after year, their minor league status afforded them little respect in the eyes of the big boys of the NFL. In 1950, the Philadelphia Eagles were at the vanguard of NFL superiority. They were hailed as the Titans of pro football, having won back-to-back world championships in 48 and 49. Any challenge to that was scoffed at by the football world. Nonetheless, when Paul Brown signed his team into the NFL in 1950, the stage was set for the inevitable showdown between the two powers. In effect, the very first Super Bowl. The battle lines were drawn.
Well, it had been several years that we were in the All-America Conference, and National League people would say we didn't even have a football, all that kind of stuff, that they made a lot out of nothing. And we were really up in the bit for the game. I believe this was the highest, most dedicated football one-game experience I had ever seen a team in.
But the laid-back Eagles, convinced of their invincibility, viewed the upstart challengers with a jaundiced eye.
You know, if you could feel cocky before a game, we felt cocky. This was a team from what we thought was maybe a bush league. But they weren't.
Eagles coach Greasy Neal fed this overconfidence, maintaining the popular view that the Browns were nothing more than bush league bullies.
Greasy Neal thought the Cleveland Browns were not as good as they really were. We didn't scout them. He thought Paul Brown was a high school coach. They got some team from the All-America Conference, and we didn't have to do much to beat them.
For Eagle quarterback Tommy Thompson, Neal's miscalculation was uncharacteristic.
I played for Greasy for quite a few years. He made very, very few mistakes. But I think Neal made a mistake on scouting this ball club.
The prevailing mood that doubted the Browns was ultimately used to their advantage. The psychological preparation of a team was something Paul Brown strongly believed in. When he came across some negative articles about his team, he pioneered bulletin board psychology.
I really think that was our motivation when we got to Philadelphia. Reading this paper for 2 weeks, newspaper, we just was ready to hit anything that the Eagles had.
Ironic at the 1950 season as the Cleveland Browns, champions of the All-American Conference, take on the defending kingpins of the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles. 85,000 fans get the thrill of the opening period as Cleveland's Don Phelps is long gone on a 70-yard scamper to the end zone.
The opening minutes set the tone for a game in which the Browns, in a word, overwhelmed the complacent and unprepared Eagles. The vaunted Eagle defense proved no match for the Browns' aggressive passing game. Cleveland attacked with such lightning efficiency that its effect on the Eagles was akin to shell shock. The Browns rendered the Eagles into a trance-like state as ball carriers bounced off of dazed tacklers for big gains. In perhaps the greatest team debut in sports history, the Browns' rout of the world champions stunningly demonstrated they were not only worthy of the NFL, but they would be the giant of the league for years to come. Not bad for a Bush League team with a high school coach.
This was a great football team, and Paul Brown will go down in history as one of the great all-time NFL coaches, and the Cleveland Browns were for real, and we found this out.
1950s. There was Norm Van Brocklin, Bobby Lane, Y.A. Tittle, and John Unitas. But if winning championships is the bottom line for quarterbacks, the way we judge quarterbacks, then one man stands above the rest.
When it comes to winning, no quarterback in NFL history can equal the stature of Otto Graham. In each of his 10 pro seasons, Graham guided Cleveland to a championship game. After dominating the old All-America Conference, the Browns joined the NFL in 1950, and the clean-cut quarterback helped them maintain a dynasty.
When our old conference joined the NFL, I think we would have played for a keg of beer, me in my case a chocolate milkshake, or anything just to prove we had a good football team.
Otto was really the greatest of all the players. No man ever took a team into the final game of the season as many times as he did. They call it the Super Bowl today. In those days, it was called the World Championship.
If you take a team to the championship every year for 10 straight years, sure you have to have some pride, no question about that. And my personality was such that I think I was always kind of cool under pressure. But I've always said that you have to have the confidence that you will do good, but at the same time, inside you have to have the fear that you might fail. Only once in my whole life did I ever go down to a football game and not go to the bathroom every 5 seconds before the game.
Graham wasn't the type to discuss his personal hygiene in public. He was an all-American boy and a family man whose wholesome values made him the Jack Armstrong of the post-war era. Graham was an ideal role model for the youth of his day, but when he laced up his cleats, he was hardly a goody two-shoes. A remarkable athlete and rugged competitor, Graham's fearlessness in the face of contact brought about a revolutionary change in football headgear.
I'm the first guy who wore a face mask. I hurt my lip, got a cut 12, 13 stitches against the 49ers. Paul Brown came up with a great big plastic thing about 2 inches high, ½ inch thick, and molded on there for the next game. And I heard players say, you're not a football player until you get your teeth knocked out. That's idiotic, you know. Who wants your teeth knocked out, you know? That's ridiculous.
Keeping his teeth enabled Graham to become a commercial spokesman for Wheaties cereal. When it came to endorsing the Breakfast of Champions, Graham didn't mind learning how to act on cue. But as Cleveland's quarterback, he flinched when taking direction from head coach Paul Brown, who called the team's plays from the sideline.
I'm not a dummy, and it always makes me feel like I didn't know what I was doing out there. And I must admit that I did change a few plays that he sent in, but I also will tell you, if I changed the play, it better darn well work, because if it didn't work, I was going to hear about it when I got to the sideline. Well, I ran out of the pocket a couple times, and he felt like he left too soon, and so he sent George Radman in the ball game. I sit down on the bench, and I'm no more than 3 yards away from him. He turned and said to the assistant coach, well, at least now we have somebody in there at quarterback who has guts enough to stay in the pocket. If I had a gun, I would shot him.
But the Brown-Graham relationship provided the foundation for an indestructible powerhouse. In the 128 games that Graham played as a professional, the Browns produced 104 victories. He retired after the 1955 title game, and though he left the stage a winner to a round of applause, his coach's farewell line was far from dramatic.
We played for the World Championship, and he really had a great day. It was a big score. In courtesy to honor him, they took him out, and these were rival fans, but they gave him a standing ovation. And when he got to the sideline, he came over to me and walked up and said, "Thanks, Coach." And I said, "Thank you, too, Otto." That's all it was said.
Winning made Otto Graham the greatest quarterback to ever answer the call to arms.
L&M Amusement Company has opened its doors to the public at their new location on West Judge Perez in Araby. Lou Terrio and staff at L&M have everything it takes for a good time. We service everything we sell, including pool tables, foosball tables, new or used jukeboxes, the perfect addition to any game rooms. We carry a full line of pool and dart supplies, along with a huge selection of cue sticks starting from $8 to the cues the pros use. L&M Amusement, where the fun begins.
Well, it is the season to count your blessing. It's also the season to count your bucks. So stop wishing for that new car and come to Lakeshore Chrysler in Slidell. Wrap up the Cherokee, only $10,993. Caravan, just $12,193. Laser, just $99.93. And they're here now, the all-new LHs and Viper. With savings this high and prices this low, the only one that can beat our deals is Santa. Buy now at Lakeshore Chrysler for the Dodge Jeep Eagle in Slidell. Happy holidays.
ESPN, top-ranked boxing. De La Hoya battles Alexander. Oscar De La Hoya, the Olympic gold.
Fun to watch. Case in point, the San Francisco 49ers, a team that carved a lasting legacy with players such as the King, the Jet, and a play called the Alley-Oop. Now, the Niners never captured a championship, but with their thrilling style of play, they captured the imaginations of football fans everywhere.
Today, it requires a flight of imagination to picture the lonely confines of Kezar Stadium as the mecca of pro football in San Francisco. But throughout the fabulous 50s, Kezar was home for the powerful and puzzling 49ers. Their many offensive weapons were explosive. But while Y.A. Tittle and his receivers usually got the jump on defenses, the 49ers failed to win a championship during the decade. This failure was even more mystifying, given the presence of number 39 Hugh McElhenney, who was a member of the most spectacular backfield trio ever assembled.
I can remember when Tittle came to the 49ers, and we had myself, McElhenney, and John Henry Johnson, and